The sun is out, and so is Gonzo's weird T-shirt. Gonzo, your weird T-shirt's back out.
Yeah, yes, my T-shirt. My sister works for Disney, who now owns Star Wars, Lucasfilms, whatever. Funny thing about this T-shirt, I'll tell you about this T-shirt. Last time we did this show, I got comments about this T-shirt. Now, when we started doing videos, we sort of hoped, as everybody does, that we might get a few views and people might watch. So you sort of prepare for yourself. You think, okay, I might get trolled. Someone might disagree with who I want as a striker or who I think should be manager. You prepare yourself for that. I was totally unprepared for a man coming onto the comments telling me that I should wear a different T-shirt next time. I was a bit unprepared for fashion advice from a fella, basically, but each their own. So there you go. So it's back, and I don't care whether you like it. There you go.
Next episode. This is the next episode of T-shirt Gate.
Well, yes, but if you're listening on iTunes, of course, we have a lovely Millennium Falcon. And
lovely.
All right, it's a Millennium Falcon, and I think it's a picture of Tatooine.
He doesn't even know. You don't even know what's on your left breast.
I usually know what's on my left breast. So I've got a pierced left breast, you know.
Anyway, speaking of tits, we'll talk about our manager.
Yes, please.
When we did the questions earlier on Twitter, about half of them are related to David Moyes. So that's going to be the main topic. And Bowling Badges, Steve Cockneyhammer in the forum, says the very simple question. So we'll kick off with that. Would you be happy with Moyes next season?
No, but obviously we need more than one word answer. Otherwise, it's going to be a very short show, should I say? I'm not happy at all. More surprisingly, though, is there's been a few polls. What do I mean? There's been a poll on Claret and Hugh, which I think there was 1,600 people, something like that, have taken part. So it's a decent sized poll. There's a lot of people have voted on it. 63% think Moyes should be offered a new contract. So I saw this and I thought, well, surely that can't be right, because why would you, sort of thing. And we did our review obviously after the most recent game, and we got our bum smacked because we were told that we were a little bit negative by some people. But I did think the majority agreed with us. You agreed, I agreed, Tom agreed. So I thought 63%, surely not. So I went onto the forum and somebody had started a thread about that very subject. And it was one of our regular posters on there who has been posting for a long time. And he said to me, he just thinks it's more reflective of social media and more reflective of blogging and people that are involved in the game. He said, because actually the people that he sits around are actually quite, in the stadium, are quite happy with Moyes. I think he's done a decent enough job, bearing in mind what he's been given. And the more people I spoke to, the more I realised actually there's a whole load of people that do think he's done okay. So I'm starting to wonder if we are slightly in the minority on that, you know?
Oh, yeah, but the problem is, this is where I think there's two sides here, because I don't think he's done a bad job. I think he's done an okay to good job, actually, given everything. It doesn't mean I want him to stay here, though. But the reason I don't want him here is because of his football. I want to see attacking intent. I don't expect to beat Stoke every game. I don't think we have the right to turn up and beat Stoke at home. But I expect to turn up and try and beat Stoke at home. That's where my personal problem lies, because I don't feel the football is attacking enough. I don't feel it's entertaining enough. But is he doing a good job? Yes. And this was my devil's advocate to bring in here, because there's a lot of people making that point. He's done his job. He's achieved what he was given by the owners, which is retain Premier League status. He's not done it yet, but it's likely he's going to retain Premier League status. So does he deserve to stay? Do you know something? I think he does deserve to stay, because he's done his remit. He deserves the summer transfer window. But that's not necessarily the first question we kicked off with. It was, would you be happy with him staying? And I think there's two completely different answers here.
You're absolutely right, because I do think that you make a great point. That was the wording. I think the wording of the poll was, does he deserve to be offered a new contract? I think if you'd have worded that differently, given the choice, would you have David Moyes as manager next season, might be slightly differently. Yeah, maybe people are imprecise in wording. I think I just almost like red rag to a bull. I see it and I read what I want to read rather than what the words are, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think he does deserve to stay. I think he deserves a transfer window. I think he's done his job. You know, the owners would have told him stay in Premier League at all costs, and he's done that. But the problem is, it's come at a cost. And you know, I think that the problem, David Moyes' biggest problem is not nobody, a lot of fans didn't want him here. When he got announced, a lot of people were negative straight away and went, no, this is a cheap option by the owners. This is typical David Sullivan, cheap. And he has to win fans over. He's got to do that because he's already, if you start on a 0, if you like, with +5 is the most positive you can get with the fan base, and -5 is the lowest. He started on a -1 purely because people didn't like David Sullivan. It's got nothing to do with David Moyes. Well, it's a little bit to do with Moyes and his football, and people didn't trust him. But I think he's taken a lot of the flack because people just don't like David Sullivan, and David Sullivan appointed him, so he sort of gets the, oh, well, you're his puppet next. But there's bigger pictures here, though, and one of the other part of the bigger picture is Hernandez. Because is there any way we're going to see Moyes and Hernandez here when the transfer window shuts before the season kicks off? I can't see it. One of them's going. One of them has to go, probably.
Yes, it's got to be the world-class striker rather than the mediocre manager that goes, really, isn't it? Let's be perfectly honest. You know, one of them's very cheap and mediocre, and one of them's really good at his job and expensive. So I think we know who's going to go. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but as regular watchers and listeners of the show will know that I'm just bamboozled by the fact that he was recruited in the first place, bearing in mind he didn't fit into Bilic's or Moyes' plans. So it's certainly best for Hernandez, I think, if he does go. Why would he want to stay at West Ham? I can't think of a single reason. And I guess now Andy Carroll came on and scored the goal, very, very important goal. I think we now know if both are on the substitutes bench for the next game. I think we both know who's going to be coming on first, don't we? So if Chicharito thought his time was limited so far at West Ham, if Andy Carroll stays fit, he ain't seen nothing yet.
I'll be disappointed to see Hernandez, though. We've been screaming out for a striker like this for years, and we finally get one, and we're just not utilising him properly. I said to you on the phone the other day, I was saying, looking at Hernandez's stats, I've never seen someone with so many of his shots actually just go in. His ratio is incredible. It's in the high 20s. Ronaldo is 15%, and Messi's like 14%. Hernandez is 27%. That is incredible. To put 27% of your shots in the back of the net is just, you know, that's not a £60 million player. That's, you know, £40 million striker, that one ratio. But the problem is our manager is making him look like a £60 million player. And if it's a choice between the two, it's a no-brainer for me. And you go get a manager that is going to fit the players, and you're going to say, here's your 5 main players at West Ham United. One of them's Hernandez. You need to get the best out of these 5. And if you do that, you'll finish in the top half, no problem. You know, all you have to do is supply him, and you will get goals. That's all you have to do. You get the other 10 to get the ball where he wants it, you will get goals. But the problem is, he just doesn't fit what our manager wants to play. But this goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's not Moyes' fault. David Moyes doesn't want a striker like that. So we are going to have Moyes. You've got to back him a bit. And if he doesn't want Hernandez, we're probably going to have to sell him. But it's just, how much is he going to go for? Let's say we'll get the money back. I think that's as much as we'll get. I don't think we'll get that much, but let's just say we get the 16 million. Who are you buying for 16 million that's going to replace Hernandez? Hugo was 9 million.
1.5 Hugels. 1.5 Hugels.
Fantastic.
That's the currency. We judge every player in Hugels. So Pogba was 8.2 Hugels. And yes, I think 1.5 Hugels. Because that's what we'll replace him with. As I always say, we get no faith whatsoever that whatever money we get in will be spent wisely by the board. The old director of football's flannel, wasn't it? He said it at the time to stop a march or whatever he thought was going to stop a march. That's why he said it. There's no director of football. You know, you're going to get some patsy coming in or something like that. Clearly, they're already highlighting the players that they want. the recruitment drive is carrying on in exactly the same fashion as it's carried on for the past 3 or 4 years. So that's happening. So it doesn't matter if we get 16 million or 60 million. I'll tell you what, we will get journeymen, and that's what we'll get.
I think we all feel that it's not going to be a director of football that rocks up. It's going to be a head of recruitment, which is Tony Henry's replacement, which we needed anyway. March or no March, we needed someone to replace the racist. And he's going to come in and be the head scout. He's going to be the guy that orders people to go look for these players. But it's come out this week that one of the things the board are impressed with is David Moyes' time on training ground and the fact he goes and scouts his own players. Well, if you're getting a director of football, why are you allowing your manager to go and scout players? Surely that's what you're trying to buy. You're trying to buy someone to go oversee all this. And if you're allowing your manager to do it and you do go get a director of football, there's going to be a massive clash here because you've got one guy and then you've got your manager both doing the same job and could be looking at completely different types of players but fighting over the same money. And then David Sullivan's got to choose who's he backing, his director of football who's an expert in transfers or the manager who's going to have to use the transfers. Who do you back? It's a lose-lose situation. David Sullivan will not win, and it's a stupid situation to put himself in if he does put himself in that. But to be, I would just find it baffling that in 2018, one thing you look for in a Premier League manager is the fact that he gets on a plane and goes and watches players abroad. To me, I find that staggering. Like in the olden days, you had to do that. Yes. There wasn't stats and videos and everything at your fingertips. You didn't have a scout who could go away, record a game, come back and put his reel together from that one game. Here you go, watch that, brilliant. Okay, we've got a guy, we've got David Moyes, who turned, and it's clearly not working because we went to Stamford Bridge and turned down James Maddison, who's now being linked with Spurs, Man U and Arsenal, etc. That's who David Moyes turned down in the last transfer window. He also turned down Batshuayi, who went to Dortmund and started banging in goals left, right and centre. These are players David Moyes turned down to sign one, Jordan Hugo. So to praise him and say, well, he scouts players, it doesn't mean he's good at it, though. I can go scout players if you want. It doesn't mean I'm good. But you're going to credit me because I actually bothered to get on an all-expenses trip to Portugal and go watch Sporting Lisbon v Porto for 90 minutes. I'll happily do that if you want.
Sounds nice. Sounds very nice.
So I just find it strange. I just think the whole setup's strange. And the problem is, we all know what's going to happen. David Moyes is going to be here when the Premier League kicks off. Javier Hernandez is not.
And they are going to spin it. And they are really going to spin it. We are going to have it spun to us like we haven't attended any games. They are going to spin this version of David Moyes, which we don't recognise. They're going to promise much, and as ever, they're going to deliver little because that's what they do. I just cannot see. I'll be gobsmacked if they match the one signing in terms of numerical value of Arnautovic, which I believe was 25 million. I'd be surprised if we spend 25 million on a single player. I think we've got that dreaded thing, which I've mentioned many times, which will be a little bit spent here and a little bit spent there, rather than some real quality players coming. But you've also got to wonder who would want to come and play for West Ham at the moment. That is actually quality. I don't mean top quality. Forget 5-star players. We can't get them. I'm talking about Europa Cup level players who, that's, who's going to want to come to West Ham with everything, with the owners the way they are, with the stadium the way it is, with a manager who plays that for. They will look at everything. Any prospective player is going to look at those tactics and think, I just don't want to play in that. It's like when what's his name went from Man United to Arsenal. I don't think it's worked out for him. What's his name? Algerian, not the Algerian, the Albanian. I can't know. Armenian. He's Armenian guy.
Mkhitaryan.
That guy. He said it would be really good to go to Arsenal because he'll be able to. The shackles will be off. He'll be able to play expensive football. And all right, it might not have worked out, but forget that. Just the comment really showed he didn't want to play for Mourinho, wanted to play for Arsene Wenger because the football was more liberating. That was a general thing. And if we want to attract players, they're going to look at things like that. Players want to score goals. Players want to attack. Players, I guess, unless you're a defender, don't want to be under the cosh. I guess even defenders want clean sheets and don't want to be under the cosh all the time. So I just think it's going to be hard for us to attract decent players with that guy at the helm.
This is probably why they might want David Moyes, though, because a decent player to David Moyes is different to what me and you consider to be a decent player. David Moyes considers Marouane Fellaini and other workhorses like that to be good players. Now, they are good players at the end of the day. They're good Premier League players, but they ain't going to get you excited. You're not going to be looking forward to seeing Fellaini elbow someone in the face on Saturday afternoon. This is it's going to be very Everton, it's going to be very work. And you can forget the flair of Payet that we saw at Upton Park. We won't be seeing that under David Moyes. We're going to be seeing... I remember it was a bit like when we had Sam Allardyce. If a player would do a step over and take his player on, Sam Allardyce would probably moan at him for trying the step over. Actually, just go past him, just kick it and run past him, do that. And it's sort of like we're going back to that a little bit. We don't want to see all this fancy stuff. We want to see... Now, I like my statistics, but it's almost like that's how they build a team around it. Well, you've got the best passing accuracy, so you're in the team on Saturday, and you go, mate. You ran the most on Saturday, so you're in the team for next Saturday. That's part of the problem. But let's move on from the David Moyes topic, because I think we're going to be covering it quite a bit. But just last question. As it stands, would you be disappointed if he was here when the season kicks off?
Yes.
Yeah, so would I. There's a few people asked this question. Who do you want as today? Who would you want to replace him in the summer?
Well, okay, two answers to the question. I think I would quite like Silva, as we've discussed on numerous occasions. But as people constantly point out to me, that's too adventurous for our owners. Our owners won't do that. So I think the only realistic alternative we have got to David Moyes is somebody who we know the owners like, and that's Benitez. Because they know him, he's not he's not an unknown. They've tried to get him before, and they've got a direct line to him. Also, I mean, they also have bad owners, don't they? Newcastle. So, and he's certainly unhappy with them. He's not getting any money. I think he got 10 million spent on Kennedy or something like that. Maybe them offering him 40 million, for instance, to spend might appeal to him. And he'll look at the players that we currently have, like an Arnautovic and the Rice coming through and so on and so forth. And he might think, actually, I can do something with that club. So I think if we forget Silva, and then the question becomes, who would you prefer, David Moyes or Rafa Benitez? Even though Rafa Benitez would not be my first, second or third choice, I would still pick Rafa Benitez above David Moyes, because I do think it'd get us playing with width. And we would attack more. I don't think he is the most expensive and attacking manager in the world. I really don't. But he's not as defensive as Moyes. Rafa Benitez is a winner. There's an old story about Rafa Benitez, which is every time he wins a trophy, he has to buy his wife an expensive watch. And now his wife's got quite a lot of watches. He does take the cup seriously. He has throughout his career at Valencia. He won lots of cups at Valencia. He won the cups at Liverpool. He took over at Chelsea when they're in turmoil. Chelsea didn't even want him there. He won the UEFA Cup, or whatever it was called at the time, with Chelsea. He wins trophies. He knows the value of going for the FA Cup, and he also knows the value of attacking wide players. And I would not be unhappy with him if that was the choice given.
I think he's gettable, Benitez, for the reasons you've stated. I think he is gettable. He's, like you say, he's not the most attacking football manager, so I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say I'd be delighted with Rafa Benitez after demanding attacking football. But I do think he's sort of like a hybrid between David Moyes and an attacking coach. He's somewhere in the middle. I think he's actually what David Moyes wants to be: efficient. Set your team up and you're efficient in defence and you're efficient going forward. What he's done with Newcastle this season is remarkable, because I think 8 or 9 of the starting 11 that beat Arsenal at the weekend played for Benitez in the Championship. He's got a Championship team in the top half of the Premier League, and that's because of Rafa. And as you know, I always say some managers are worth points. Just the manager himself is worth points. Benitez is probably one of the top managers in the league for being worth points, because he knows what to do. He'd be a safe option, very safe. We wouldn't get relegated. I don't think we'll get relegated under Moyes, but I definitely don't think we'll get relegated under Benitez. But for me, I know you said he's not your first, second or third choice either, but he's still not for me either. Brendan Rodgers is quite high up my list. He's got to get bored at Celtic at some point. At some point, he's got to say, I've achieved all I can achieve up here. I've got us winning the league. We've won the cups. We're competitive in the Champions League in the sense that we're, in terms of David against Goliath, we're not getting our arse spanked week in, week out. They do sometimes. They went to PSG and got their arse spanked, but that's acceptable to an extent when you consider budgets, etc. But you know, they've just beat Rangers 4-0 at the weekend.
Right, okay.
It's got to be boring after a while. He was harshly done by at Liverpool. I think he achieved quite a lot at Liverpool without actually winning anything. But for whatever reason, his reputation was tarnished a little bit. I think he's more than repaired that up here. I think he's got to go back to the Premier League. And I do wonder if the first Premier League club to go knocking might turn his head a little bit. Just how much is he wanting to get back down? Because if you don't ask, you don't get, do you? And I would hate to see another Premier League club go get him just purely because they went up to Celtic and said how much for your manager, and Brendan Rodgers went, I'm coming. If it wasn't him, my number one choice is still the same. David Wagner. I'm actually tearing my hair out. When this Manager of the Year award comes up, people speak about Pep, obviously. Sean Dyche, rightly so. He would be my Manager of the Year. Rafa, Chris Hughton, for what he's done with Brighton. Again, I agree. I think he deserves all the plaudits. However, there's still a wee bit left to play in Premier League, and they've got a seriously hard games. They're not going to get relegated, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish 17th or something. But David Wagner has got, I think, the worst squad in the Premier League. I think in terms of talent, it's the worst team. He doesn't have a Lewis Dunk like Brighton does. He doesn't have somehow Glenn Murray's banging in goals. He doesn't have one of them up front. He doesn't have Pascal Gross in behind Murray or Knockhart on the wing. He doesn't have these players, but he's got them playing efficient football. Now, they've conceded the most goals in Premier League. Go look at their team, though. That guy's overachieving, and how he's not getting all the plaudits, I don't know. But that's a good thing. It means there's no media hype around him, and it's harder to get a manager when there's media hype around them. It's hard. It would be impossible right now to go get Sean Dyche out of Burnley purely because of all the hype. His value's through the roof. You've got to pay top dollar to get him out of Burnley. Wagner, it's not got that. That's who I would go for. Speaking about season plaudits, season awards, Gonzo, the official site is now opening their voting for their player awards. I'm not actually clicked on it. I've only seen people discussing signing of the season, goal of the season, player of the season. I think young Hammer of the Year is pointless discussing. We all know that's Declan Rice. Goal of the season, would you be giving it to Obiang? Have you watched the clips, by the way? There's one or two of them is a bit, really? Is that even a contender?
Obiang's was a howitzer. You'll never see one like that again. Certainly from him. If he plays for us again, of course. So that's for me. Obviously, the big one's going to be player of the season. I mean, we are not sport for choice. Are we doing a separate thing, or do you want to know my opinion on it now?
Well, all I was going to say for goal of the season is Obiang's are winning, rightly so. But I would be seriously tempted to put that Brighton goal in. That passing and moving with Hernandez and Noble, etc. I like goals like that. Them goals cannot be appreciated enough, in my opinion. And that goal was a little bit... That's the type of football I want to see. That's the football I want to see. That's what I want delivered. But Obiang get it. But yeah, your Hammer of the Year, it's obvious who's going to win it, I think. Right?
Yeah. But for one very simple reason, for me. You could put the original one was Zabaleta for consistency throughout the season, but really it comes down to me, Ogbonna or Arnautovic. So how do you separate them? And I'll tell you how I separate them. This is my take on it. I think if we didn't have Ogbonna but somebody else, another centre-back, say Ginge played brilliantly all season, I think we still stay up. I think if we hadn't got Zabaleta, but we'd have maybe got somebody else, I think we still probably would stay up. I think if we didn't have Arnautovic, I think his goals worth so many points, I think we'd be down. And I really do. I think Arnautovic has been the single reason why we will not get relegated this season. And that's why he would tip it for me, not because of the brilliance and because of the trickery, because he's flamboyant, because he's a flair player and nice to watch. I've got no problem giving it to defenders at all. No problem at all if I think that they have been amongst the best. But I do think take him out, and I just think we're down. So for that reason, it would be Arnautovic for me anyway.
Mine is going to a defender. I've not changed for a while, and that's Zabaleta. Purely because the award is called Hammer of the Year, not Hammer of since David Moyes took over. If it was Hammer since David Moyes took over, it would be Arnautovic or Ogbonna. But it's not. It's Hammer of the Year. And Zabaleta is the only player I felt in the Bilic era gave 100% every single game. The guy that could actually hold his... When Bilic departed, he's probably one of the few players that could hold his head up and say, you know what, I gave everything for that manager. He's lost his job. It's not because of me. Very few other players in that squad can say the same thing. Very few of them. Especially Ogbonna and Arnautovic. Arnautovic elbowed someone in his first game and missed 3 or 4... He's part of the problem. Well, he's not part of the problem. They all are. But he contributed to Bilic's downfall. Ogbonna, while he didn't do anything crazy like Arnautovic, was nowhere near the same defender as we saw under David Moyes. We were all asking what was wrong with Ogbonna. We were debating selling Ogbonna. We were thinking, this guy's crap. He used to be good. What's happened to him? David Moyes come in, bang. He's all of a sudden one of the best Premier League defenders outside the top 6. You could even debate he's good enough for some of the top 6 sides. I bet you Arsenal fans would happily about Ogbonna.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So he's good enough for the top 6 on his day. Where was that Ogbonna for the first 11 games of the season?
Yeah, I do think he kept Bilic in his job though, with that goal against Tottenham in a cup. I think that fixture was huge. I think he was out if they had lost that and we'd gone out of the cup. Then that fixture, us winning that and the nature of it of being behind and then coming back to win. Did I score 2 in that? Have I got that right? But I think Ogbonna scored the last of the goals, and so yeah, I know what you're saying. Though he was inconsistent in the league, but I do think that game in particular, I think he kept Bilic in his job. And you're right, he is a fine defender. Ogbonna, I think he would slot into many of the top sides. I look at Man United sometimes when when I can be bothered to, and I look at some of their defenders and who they've spent 30-odd million plus on. And then I look at us and look at Ogbonna and think, well, I don't think... I'm going to call him Bailey because that's how it's spelt. Bailey and Lindelof. Is that his name, Lindelof?
Yeah.
I look at Bailey and Lindelof and I think, I'm not sure you got better players there than what we've got with Ogbonna, in all honesty. And I think you could say that about a few of the top sides.
No, I agree with Ogbonna. I think he's fantastic. I think Arnautovic is going to win him, pure and simple. I'll be shocked if he doesn't win. I think he's going to get about 80% of the votes as well. I think he's going to. But I'll tell you what, there's a small campaign for Jordan Hugo to win. I've seen a lot of people voting for Jordan Hugo. And as funny as it is, I would feel a bit bad because there is some players actually deserve it. You know, we got relegated. I think I'd be voting for Jordan Hugo as well. To be fair, I'd be starting a campaign to vote for Declan Rice actually if that was the case. But humorous anyway. Transfer gossip. Have you been keeping up to date with it? Have you seen any rumours involving us that raises your eyebrows?
No, tell me. You talk to me. Surprise me.
We'll start with Jordan Hugo. It's sort of come out. How, I don't know. I'm not read the article. I just read the snippets and confirmed what we all knew. He was signed for the Championship in case we got relegated. I mean, what? Why would you do that?
I don't know. Let's just break this down a second, okay? So let's say we were to have got relegated. What you want to do then is get promoted. So you want some players. So you get relegated, you get your parachute payments. You're instantly richer than all the other clubs in that division. You'll end up getting 30 million for Antonio if he's fit. Someone will come along and get Lanzini and some other players. You're going to have to sell a lot of your decent players. Maybe Ogbonna, who we just spoke about, maybe you have to sell him for 15, 20 million. Best one in the world, you may well have 80 million quid right there, just sat there, plus all your parachute money. Why, if that was the case, would you buy Jordan Hugo anyway? You just wouldn't. You'd go and buy someone you know could do it. Like, I'm not particularly excited, but you spoke at Newcastle. You might go and buy Dwight Gale because you know he can score goals in that Championship, sort of winger, Richie, or whatever it is. You just put together a team of the best Championship players. Keep old Snodgrass, our son. I told you we wanted you. We built a team around you, mate. And that's what you would do. Not at any point would you have bought Jordan Hugo. So to sort of plan for the future, oh, I know, if we get relegated, what we'll do is we'll have that striker who has scored a handful of goals in the Championship rather than the bloke that scores them for fun. It's a crazy, crazy policy, really.
It's a risk as well, because in January, why would you not spend the money on a Premier League striker to stay in the Premier League? Like, why would you prepare for the Championship like that? It's like, we weren't West Brom, we weren't rock bottom, you know. We were in and out. I don't even think we were in the bottom three. We were sort of hovering above it. There was no. It was just baffling. But it all adds up, though. This is probably why we sold Ayew and Font. Get the two high earners off the books, because if we go down, Font's worth nothing. Nobody's going to want someone on that price at that age. And Ayew will be worth 8 million or something. So let's get him out while we can, especially on the wages he's on. And it does sort of add up a little bit. And it just baffles. But if something doesn't sum up the owners, like this doesn't sum up the owners, I don't know what does, to be honest with you. Crap, we might get relegated. Oh, well, let's sell a couple of players, get some money in, and get someone cheap that might do the job. But what's this guy going to do now? Like, the talk is he's going out on loan. But what's the point? Like,
what a poor fella. We laugh. And we're not mocking him. We're mocking the owners. We're mocking the policy. That poor bloke, you know, he's been treated like a bit of cattle. A bit of cattle? A cow. A bit of cattle is a cow, for anyone who knows. He's been treated like a cow. And I just only hope that he's earned enough money from the move, that because he wouldn't have been on big money at Preston. Hopefully he's earned enough money out of the move that it's sort of changed his life a bit, and it's been worth the while, because I hope it improves his personal life, because in footballing terms, it's done nothing for him whatsoever. It's just been a very, very bad move for him and for the club, really.
Yeah, we bought, you say like about him, but we got what we expected, a good Championship striker. That's what we bought, you know. So where's he going to go? On loan to Championship? You know, he's going to have like a Robert Snodgrass-like season in order for us to be able to sell him in a year's time. It's just baffling. I think we almost need to just admit what we've done, just cut our losses, get what we can for him, and allow him to move for the sake of his own career. He's still at a decent age that he's got plenty of years ahead of him. It's probably not going to be in the Premier League, certainly not for West Ham. So let's give the guy a chance to go do something in the Championship. It's just a head scratch. In 5 years' time, this is going to be a joke. Remember when we signed Hugo? He played 20 minutes in the Premier League and he couldn't wait to walk out with all the bubbles. That is how he's going to. That's his legacy at West Ham if he leaves in the summer. That video that he recorded. They couldn't even be asked giving him a proper announcement thing, did they? Just record something. Right, yeah, that'll do. Stick that up. That'll be fine. Other players that might be leaving. Well, there's one that's rumours is Keena, and AC Milan. A couple of other clubs are supposed to be looking at him. I mean, there's this one guy that sort of really failed to live up to expectations. Are we too quick to throw big expectations on these young players' shoulders?
Yes, perhaps we are, but sometimes they come through, like Declan Rice. Actually, having said that, I think Declan Rice came through because all the attention was on Reece Oxford in many respects. So we weren't talking about Declan Rice for the last 3 years. The first I really heard of Declan Rice, as I've said before, was Luke Malden went to the Players' Awards probably a year ago, and I remember him coming out, maybe did a video, maybe said it on the phone, or maybe said it public. I don't remember. Whatever. I do remember Luke Malden saying this is going to be the next guy. So fair play. He was the first one that I recall ever saying it. Before that, he was just a name that I see on the team sheet for the youth team. He was absolutely right. Are we guilty of building him up? Yes, but Queener, I don't watch a lot of football, as you know, but I did watch somebody under 17s in the tournament in the summer because England were in it, and he was the outstanding player of the tournament. Him and another guy, but he was very, very good. And then he hasn't really started the season. It was really Martinez. What's happened to him, by the way? Who was really tearing it up in that under 23 team. And then I went and saw the under 23s, and not only saw Queener play, but actually stood next to him. And I was shocked by how small he was, as I've said on numerous occasions. And he's not built up enough yet. So he still looked like a boy. He still looked like somebody that should be playing sort of youth football, if you like. And I say about youth football, there's a lot of big boys in it. There's a lot of people play youth football. They're 6-footers, big boys, you know. I think Ben Johnson's a couple of years younger than him, but looks like a man, as I've said before. So I just thought he wasn't ready, and because of his physical thing, I watched him playing against Wickham, and they were playing Wickham, who were sort of seasoned professionals, if you like, albeit a couple of divisions down, and he was just muscled out of the game, completely muscled out of the game. And so I guess if AC Milan are interested, they're playing for potential, because he ain't ready yet, as from what I could see anyway.
Yeah, I would keep him though, because let's give them a proper chance. Keep them until, I know we're talking about Burke and Cullen. We'll have to decide. that's sort of the age where I think that's where it's sort of you have to decide. Keane's not at that age yet, so let's just give him his time. Keep doing what we're doing with him in the under-23s. Look to get him out on loan if he wants to go out on loan, and then we'll decide. It's like we're probably going to have to decide on Reece Oxford the next 18 months as well. He's sort of the forgotten man at West Ham because he's over in Germany and we're not seeing his name on the headlines, etc. The big one for coming in terms of rumours this week is Shaqiri Stoke City. Look like they're heading down. We've signed Arnautovic last summer. Well, I don't think Stoke would be too pleased to do business with us because you could argue that transfer is what's relegated them.
Yeah.
Would you like to see Shaqiri? Let's forget about the hypothetical Stoke business.
I would, and for one very, very good reason, because it would basically null and void everything I said about David Moyes earlier. If West Ham were going to sign Shaqiri, I would be a bit surprised if we were signing Shaqiri and keeping David Moyes. I think, oh, hold on. Well, first of all, I think, hold on, we're selling Lanzini. But after I'd said, hold on, we're selling Lanzini, I would think, so he's going to buy an attacking player. Because as I maintained recently, I think if you'd have taken Kiate and Fernandes out of that team the other day and actually put a proper midfielder in there and then somebody who had a decent control of football, we would have looked a lot better and we would have actually been able to do something with the fact we have more possession. So, yes, number one, I think Shaqiri's a decent player. I think he's inconsistent. However, as I've said on numerous occasions, those consistent players that turn it on every game and open up defences every game, they're called David Silva. And we can't ever get anyone then. So we can only ever get people that have flashes of brilliance because we can only afford £30 million tops. We can't afford 90 million or 100 million. I think it would send out the right message. And I often say that I think we'll struggle to put bums on seats in the stadium. I think if next season we had a team in it with Arnautovic and then maybe Lanzini and Shaqiri just behind him, I think you're getting bums on seats. I think that does it.
Potentially unpopular, but it depends on the price for me. I don't think he's as good as social media makes out. Whenever I watch Stoke, which is not every week, regular enough, I suppose, but doesn't do it for me. He seems to be, he's I don't want to describe him as this because he's obviously more talented than this, but he's what I would call a match of the day player. You see him a lot of match of the day because he scores from distance. He'll shoot from 25 yards out and get his shot tipped over, blah, blah, blah. And he's clearly their best player. I'm not denying that, but they're getting relegated. So is it good enough to go forward? Listen, if he was 15 million or less, I'd say it's a bargain, but would I want to pay 25 million? Probably not. I think there's better people out there. Would it be disappointed if he cut? But I wouldn't be rushing out in a hurry to get him, put it like that. And the last one that I'll mention is Dendoncker. The rumour's back. Apparently, Atletico Madrid have a £20 million fee agreed with them or something for him. So that's our price if we want him. Well, we'll score that one off them.
Well, yeah, easy choice for him to make. I can't really pass comment on him. We thought we were looking at a midfielder. It actually turned out he'd been playing centre back for most of the time, and I've never seen him play. So I think anything I say about him is again, it's not, like I say, use the phrase again, is null and void. When we get linked with players, everyone seems to become experts on them. So, but I am also aware that everybody spends a lot more time watching football than I do. So maybe people do watch Anderlecht and follow the Belgian league and stuff like that. I don't. I've never seen him play. Shaqiri, yes. I mean, Shaqiri, funny, just going to Shaqiri, you were talking about match of the day player. Reminds me of a player, Newcastle used to have a guy called Laurent Robert, who could have been anything he wanted, really. And it just never really happened. And it's just when you were saying match of the day player, it reminded me, that's what I used to call him. And actually, yeah, he was a wide player. I think he was left-footed, actually, but he was a wide player and who had the capacity to do something brilliant and would do so once every 6 games or whatever. So, yeah, but as for Dendoncker, don't know, don't care, because he could be good, bad, or indifferent. I've never seen the guy play.
Yeah, I don't. You say some people watch the Belgian league. That is not I. I do not watch the Belgian league. But if this is David Moyes' #1 transfer target, then we have to go get him. Okay, if Moyes is staying, and we have to back a bit. As simple as that. Director or no director of football, I think we've left it too late. In all honesty, I think director of football needed to be in about a month ago, because the season finishes in exactly a month now. The 13th of May is the last game of the season, right? From the 14th of May, you need to start getting your arse into action for transfers. Simple as that, because there's a World Cup this year, and that makes it even more difficult. Now, I know players are going on holiday, stuff that you need to start getting stuff done as soon as that final whistle against Everton's blowing. And then, even if we employed a director of football tomorrow, he's got 3 and a bit weeks to get his targets and stuff lined up. I don't think he's got enough time. We're going to have to rely on what David Moyes wants here. And if that's Dundonker, we've got to go get him. As simple as that. If he can play defensive midfielder, that's the one area I think we need to improve on like that. Defensive midfield, he fits it. So that's who Moyes wants. Let's go get him. Right, we'll move on to the questions. And we'll start with the YouTube live chat ones. If you're on YouTube and you're on the live chat, feel free to put them in. I'll keep trying to keep scribbling them down. We'll get through these and we'll move on to Twitter. Martin says, what is the price for Rice? We sort of discussed this last week. We gave it a price tag, didn't we? We said, oh, we can't sell it.
Naughty Martin. We're trying to dodge that question. If we ignore it, Martin, it won't happen. If we don't discuss it, it will just go away.
You know, you can't do that. What's the price? Every footballer has his price, Gonzo. What's his price?
How much? John Stones was 50 million?
Yeah.
60 million if you buy him now. But I don't want to sell him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell. I get what you say. I think every West Ham fan would say we wouldn't sell him. But for me, price, it's got to be something mental. It's got to be, I think 40 million is a fair. 10 million for what he is today, but you're paying 30 million for what he could be. Now, he could be worth a lot more than that, but that's a risk you're taking. He might not hit the dizzy heights, but everything is pointing to him being a little bit special.
Four Hugels. 4 Hugels.
Dimwit Dave. Dave Sullivan's on the live chat.
Hello, Dave. Hello, you're right, mate.
Dimwit Dave.
I hear we spent loads on transfers, Dave. You told us so. It all went to the ages, but apparently we spent loads. Been out spending Man City, apparently, Dave. But thanks for popping on.
Listen, this might be Dimwit Dave's transfer research here. Would you splash out for Butland?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's a good keeper. I think sometimes when you're in a relegation team, I would spend 2 Jordan Hugels on Butland.
I would take him. The thing is, this goes back to Shaqiri for me. I think the price it'll take to get him is. I don't think West Ham can justify it. Right? I think it'll cost you 30 million upwards to get him out of there. I don't think we can spend 30 million on a keeper because it goes back to what I said to you a couple of weeks ago. We just don't have the money. We don't have, even if the owner spent 70 million this summer, I don't think it's enough because we need so much. And I don't think you can spend 30 million of that 70 on the keeper. 15 million, 20 million tops, yes. 30, no. So, yes for Gonzo, no for me, unless he's cheap and he's got a clause that we don't know about. Clayton, earlier in the show, I said you should give a manager 5 players, build a team around 5 players. Hernandez would be 1. Clayton saying, what are your 5 players then?
Oh, Clayton. Hello, mate, by the way. Rice, obviously. That's the easy one. I think still you've got to keep Noble in there. Actually, he's the captain. He's the heart and soul of the club. Obviously, Arnautovic, number 3. Lanzini, absolutely, number 4. Injuries is always a tricky one. If injuries weren't an issue, then I'd still say Antonio would be a big one for me. Yeah, I'd probably go with those. If we were looking at guys just on underneath, it would be something different. But you know, I think Nathan Holland might start to come into the team a little bit next season. But I don't think you build the team around him. You start introducing him from the bench. But as starters, I would go with those 5.
Similar to you, I'll do Rice, Ogbonna, Lanzini, Hernandez, and Arnautovic. That's your spine.
Yeah,
that's your 5 right down the middle of the pitch. You need a new keeper. Zabaleta's getting on. Your left back. Well, I say left back purely because I want to see 4 at the back. Pick and choose. Mark Weir says the player awards have come out. Obviously, if you could create a new award, good or bad, which would you create? Now, for West Ham, I've seen you trolling on Twitter this last couple of days.
Thank you very much.
I've seen you trolling, right?
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, quite rightly so. Got to have some fun of it, yeah. Anyway. What would I have? Let's see. It would. Well, I tell you what, you could just be a little bit mischievous and make it the make it I don't know, some sort of award for the most time spent on the injury. It's sort of like the medics table award or something like that for the person unavailable for selection most, which I think it would be. And this year's winner again, it's Andy Carroll. You know, he probably just come out. Oh, thank you. It's very prestigious. I'm honoured to be winning the medics table award again for the 5th year running. Of course, I won it twice at Liverpool and once at Newcastle before then, and I'll be looking forward to winning it again next year. Obviously, Antonio's run me close this year.
I don't know. I think Winston Reid's maybe won a couple of seasons. Yeah, I think Winston Reid's maybe won a couple of years. I'll take it a bit more serious, and I'll go the Unsung Hero of the Year award, purely because I want Martin Noble to get an award. Or maybe actually that's what the award should be, Hammer of the Moyes Year award, because then Arnautovic can win it and actually win it with his integrity intact.
I'll tell you what we could do. Hey, we could do Manager of the Season awards.
Don't get me started. We'll be here all night.
Oh, you know, those are scales, by the way, not breasts. They're scales. I'm weighing up whether it's Bilic or Moyes.
You know what side I'll be on? It's not David Moyes' flipping side.
But if you're on iTunes, I was doing a miming scales.
Yeah,
the balancing of the scales.
Yeah, that's what she said as well. Right, Victor says, what do you think about the links to Danny Drinkwater?
I wouldn't mind. I would not say no to that. It's a not for the price that Chelsea paid, though. That's too much. I think he certainly would be better than what we have in there. And I spoke earlier about if Kiate wasn't in, we had an actual somebody that could play midfield, a midfielder in there. Danny Drinkwater would certainly be one of those. He's a midfielder. He can tackle, he can pass, and that's fine. Wouldn't mind at all, but not for the 30 million and nowhere near it, actually.
See, he's a good player, but he's a bit Mark Noble for me. He's a bit like jack of all trades, master of none. He's good at it. He's good at most stuff, but he doesn't excel in anything, you know. And I want to see someone that comes in that excels defensively as a defensive midfielder. And if you're going to get another centre midfielder, someone that excels with a little bit of flair, a little bit of creativity and passing. Now, I think Noble does do that to an extent, but he's just not risky enough. We need someone a little bit riskier. I mean, there's a centre midfielder that will, as you called it, get bums on seats. We need one of them in there that can G us all up a bit. So Drinkwater, see, the thing is, this is what I said earlier. This is a Moyes signing this. He's going to come in. He's going to work hard. It's safe. There's no thrills about this transfer. You get what you see really with Danny Drinkwater. He won't let you down, but you know, I wouldn't expect any. I don't think he's going to be going up for Hammer of the Year award in 12 months' time when he arrives and stuff. Right, moving on to the Twitter questions, and we do this before the show. Every time we do a show, we sometimes announce it on the day we're doing a show. We're a bit unprepared, me and Gonzo. We do have lives, you know, but. So Twitter at WHU Daniel _ says, which right back would you sign if Fredericks was to sign a new deal with Fulham? He would go for Cedric at Southampton.
Oh, that's hard. The trouble is I don't watch a ton of football, and if I do watch football, I tend not to notice people's right backs. Sounds terrible, really, doesn't it? Obviously, we're linked to a guy from Fulham, but I've not seen enough on him. I'm gonna have to. I'll have to take a pass on this one. Otherwise, I'm going to end up plucking someone out of the air, which I don't really know very much about. Actually, no, he's a left back again. So no, left backs I might know a little bit, but right backs I don't know. I did mention we went through this a couple of years ago, and I said there was a guy who was doing well at the time at Roma, and his name was Florenzi, and I'd seen him play a couple of times, and he looked really good. And it was a decent bit of scouting by me because actually turned into really good players. Ended up playing midfield now anyway. Aside from that, I don't know. I just don't know enough about it. So apologies.
Adam Smith for me from Bournemouth still. I still really like Adam Smith. But to be honest, next season, if you want to be a bit cheeky, I would go to Liverpool. Say, here, you've got 3. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, you've got Gomez, and you've now got Nathan Klein back. You've got 3 good right backs there.
That's a good shout. Nathan Klein, you won't get Alexander-Arnold. I mean, he is brilliant, by the way, isn't he? How he's come into the team has been sensational.
A lot of Liverpool fans still think Klein's their best right back. He's just had that lengthy layoff. So they've now got 3 really good right backs. Klopp's done well to juggle 2 of them. Can he juggle 3? He'd probably put, previously he's used Gomez on the left back as well, but Robertson's now nailed that completely. So you can't shift him over to the left to give him game time. So Liverpool have got 3. I'd be going up there and say, we just want him on loan for the season. He comes here, he gets game time because Zabala is getting on a bit. His value goes up, you win. You win big time. Which one do you want to give us? So that's where I would go. David Sullivan, there you go. Dimwit Dave. Save a little bit of cash, head up to Anfield for a loan. Luke Maldon at Lukey Maldon says, as we've been flirting with relegations for the past 2 seasons now, do you think we are a similar case to the likes of Villa and Sunderland who flirted with relegation year on year and eventually dropped?
Hello, Luke, what a depressing thought, but it's not without its merits, is it? You can't keep dicing with death and avoiding it. If they don't make some serious adjustments, then that is going to happen. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting things to change. I made this point before, and I haven't made it on our channel. It was when I was with Luke and Paul on the podcast there. I just think they're constantly behind the times. Always. I still think they're in Birmingham days. I've said they still think 25 million is a lot to pay for a player. But I think they've always been behind the times. When they were in the adult industry before, they got out of the adult industry at absolutely the wrong time. They got out of the adult industry just as it was going onto the internet. It went from grotty magazines of VHS tapes to booming. That industry has made billionaires out of people. Yet right at that time, that industry was about to boom. They sold up and they got out. Now, even just as business people, you've got to question that. You've got to think, well, was that a wise thing to do? No, because I think they were behind the times. They couldn't see the trend and the change coming in the industry that they were in. And I think that is reflective in how they run West Ham Football Club. I think they are still stuck in the Birmingham City days. I think in the way they recruit players, in the way they look at managers, which has always been, McLeish and Moyes and Steve Bruce and Avram Grant. You can go on, Allardyce. They've never been looking at the cutting edge. In many respects, I think their first managerial appointment was Trevor Francis or Barry Fry at Birmingham. They've never really moved on from that model. They're still getting a Barry Fry type manager every single time. And there is that thing that what a definition of madness is repeating the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So from that, I do think Luke has got a really good point, actually. I think if we carry on, then we could be in with it. They need to change what they're doing is the answer for us to avoid it.
I think that's why they'll keep Moyes. So I think they believe Moyes is that person to keep them away from the relegation zone. And if they recruit someone else in the summer, are they then dicing with death a little bit here? Is that manager going to be the one that does open the trap door for West Ham? But so you can listen. Where are we in the league? 14th now, right? If we get another 4 points or something between now and then, there's a good chance we're going to finish 13th or something. And 13th doesn't sound that bad on paper. So it sort of doesn't tell a true story, but it does show that I think there's 10 clubs dicing with death in the Premier League this season. There's 10 clubs flirting with relegation. So where do you determine what is flirting with relegation? Have we done it for 2 seasons? Well, of course, we've been close to the bottom, but we're now virtually safe both seasons with 5 games to go now. And I bet you 10 Premier League clubs, you offer them that this summer, 10 Premier League clubs would take that. Safety with 5 games to go, I'll take that. They won't consider that to be flirting with relegation. And I think me, you, and Luke, our impression is what is flirting with relegation, I think, is different to a Premier League chairman's view on what is flirting with relegation. They'll see this as a safe season, I think. There was a few tricky spells, a few ugly moments, a few worrying moments, but at the end of the day, if they're sitting 14th come the end of the season, they're 14th. So I'm not too sure. Lynn at Lynn Canal 51 says, it doesn't look like Ginge will get a contract. Now, this is interesting because he's sort of become the forgotten man because of his injury. If he doesn't, she says, where will he go? But I think I'm going to change this. Sorry, Lynn. Would you give him a new contract?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Hello, then. Yeah, absolutely. I would, because I think he's deserved it. He's been a really long servant of the club, and as I've always maintained, we keep him on until he goes into coaching. And it's really up to, I think sometimes you have to reward loyalty, and you say to someone, look, we're not going to offer you the earth, James. You're not going to get 60 grand a week. You're not. You're going to be there as a substitute and as a make weight if things go wrong. We're going to try and blood Declan. And this is your situation. But when you're with us, you can do the badges. We may even drop your wages a bit, but I think it's only fair, bearing in mind, he's a Welshman. I think he married an Essex girl. I think he's married or an East London girl or something. And I think his kids are in school, and I think that's overstated, because we look at footballers and think they're rich and they're pampered, that schools for the kids don't matter. I think they do. I think it's a big thing, an upheaval of your family. I would give him the option, and I would say, look, I understand if you want to go away for regular first team football, but what we prefer to do is whatever, I don't know, half your wages for, it's not something to do negotiation. Hopefully he's not listening to this, but we'll half your wages. You can stay here. You stay where you are, and you do your badges with us, and we'll look to incorporate you in the coaching staff in the club, and you can do the under 18s or whatever. That's what I'd be doing with James Collins. I think we owe him a bit of loyalty. We owe him the option of giving him the choice. And then if he says no, actually, do you know what? I'm going to go to whatever club. I'm going to go to Reading for 2 seasons. They're offering me 2 years, and then they're going to be their captain. And then fair enough. Then he goes, and we wish him well. And we say to him, come back in 2 years then, and do coaching.
My view is the same as yours. Leave up to him. Offer him a 1-year deal. I don't even know if that's to be reduced pay. He's not on that much anyway, I don't think. But as long as he's happy to be third, even fourth choice centre back, and the problem is his injuries have caught up with him big time, especially now with this hamstring injury. He's been back in training a couple of times and still not made it for the game. That's worrying at that age. Now, if he was 23, it'd be fine, but he's not 23. And this is where the medics might be saying to the board, David Moyes, saying, let's say his time's up, if you like. But it's a shame, because this season's actually, he's matured massively with age. He's just got better and better. Last season, I thought he was fantastic. This season, he's even better. It's difficult, because it's like a seesaw, isn't it? Eventually, it's going to tip, and you're going to be, at the minute, we're winning. We're the one that's higher up. He's playing well, blah, blah. But eventually, that seesaw is going to tip, and his performances are going to dip, and we're going to be sitting there with a guy potentially in the way of a couple of the younger players coming through, etc. But if he's only got a 1-year deal, I don't think it's that risky. But I'll tell you what, if he is going, I want to know before the Everton game. I think he is owed the truth, and I think we're owed the truth. And I want him to come out and do a lap of honour on his own. I genuinely want him, because this season's been a write-off, okay? It's been a bit crap. There's not been that many highs. It's been 1 or 2. Not a great deal. Not many people stay behind after the Everton game. Because why would you stay behind to applaud players finishing 14th in the league? Most, I'd say most, half will, but half of them will be out that ground before a full-time whistle. But I think if James Collins is coming out on his own after that game, I like to think a lot more people will stay behind just to thank him for his service. And if it's a pity we can't give him a testimonial at the end of the season. It's a bit late to arrange it now, and that's a shame, because to give Noble the last one at Upton Park and Collins the first one at London Stadium, I think that would have been fitting. And that's the only thing I'll say on it. Let us know before Everton. I think
that's a smashing idea, actually, for that lap of honour and all that as well.
He deserves it. Let him walk 10 yards in front of the group of players or behind the group of players. Let him have his own moment, because he's deserved it. And like I said, at the start of the season, a lot of those players down tools. He didn't. He didn't down tools for Bilic.
He's like Alvin Martin. I've said this before as well. Alvin Martin was a Scouser that became a Cockney. But he got it. He understood West Ham, and he lives and breathes West Ham. Alvin Martin. He's the same. He's the same. He's a taffy that has become a Cockney. He lives and breathes West Ham, and he's I think he's a thoroughly decent man. And I love that idea, actually.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. If he is good. But Gonzo, anything you'd like to add there? We've been blethering for an hour now. We didn't get through all the questions. I'll keep them for next week or the following week whenever we do our next cup of tea, though. But is there anything you'd like to add before we disappear?
I don't think so. I'm cooking in this cupboard. I've got both lights on. The dryer, the tumble dryer was on before I came in here. It's been a hot day for England anyway today. So I'm sweltering here. So I've got some elderflower cordial chilling in the fridge. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to go and glug that down and say good night to everybody, and thanks for joining us.
And change your shirt for good.
I'll auction the shirt off. 200 quid. I'll give it to Isla. You can have the shirt.
No, nobody wants it for £2. I don't think. No way, right.
Actually, they won't want it.
Lastly, a signed Antonio shirt, signed by Michael Antonio. Comment on this video to be entered. You've commented on last week's cup of tea, you're already entered. You comment on this one, you'll be entered. You comment on both, you'll be entered twice, because there's absolutely no way in hell I'm going through both videos to check for duplicates. You're just going to be entered twice, so, you know, cheat. But you have to be subscribed to the channel as well. We finally did 2 million views on the channel, so thank you very much to everybody that's watched. You've only watched about 5. Can you please start watching a bit more so we can reach 3
You've got
million?
some catching up to do if you only watched 5.
If you're listening to this on iTunes, subscribe to the channel on iTunes and drop us a review. 5 stars would be appreciated. We'll try and do a competition for the podcast for iTunes only. It's a bit more difficult though that way, but we'll put our heads together and come up with something. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Comment below. Gonzo's done a show where he reads through your comments and comments on your comments. So if you do comment below, you might feature in Gonzo's next video commenting on your comment. But anyway, Gonzo, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Gonzo's shirt, and it's goodbye for me.